All right, welcome to the SnydeReport. I am your host, Gary Snyder. With me today, as you can see right there, she is the 10th Congressional District Congresswoman from Michigan, Haley Stevens. Haley, how are you?
Hey, I'm good by seeing you, and I'm glad to be on SnydeReports.
I appreciate you coming on after what has to be a very tedious few days.
Yeah, it was strenuous, and a lot of the things that happened, frankly, were a little unexpected. I'll be honest. You had the Republicans holding votes open for half a day, almost a full day. You had deals cut in the dark of the night. Then you had our amazing Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, make history by delivering the longest address on the House floor. If you think about it, that is remarkable. I was there. I was standing right next to him, and
I actually saw you.
Did you see me? I was there. I was in white, but it was an amazing moment just to hear our Democratic leader elevating the stories of Americans. I mean, I'm from Michigan. He was elevating stories of Michiganders, which I really also appreciated because that's what I do each and every day.
What was it like being on the floor? Because when you watch it from television and you see all the pundits and their commentary, you don't necessarily get the ambiance of the floor.
Yeah.
So what was it like this last 2 days watching basically healthcare being taken away from millions while billionaires are getting tax cuts to pay for it?
There's a couple things about it. You can feel beleaguered and dragged down and deeply frustrated, frankly, because this legislation was so absurd. I mean, it truly is a tax cut for billionaires at the expense of people's health care and food assistance and our manufacturing economy. And what I mean by that is the investments that have gone in to advance manufacturing. But what you do, Gary, is you carry a card about this size onto the House floor. And I carry this card on behalf of 800,000 Michiganders. And it carries a lot of weight. And you can't be dragged down just because you're walking through a little bit of mud. I'm honored to walk through the mud for the people of Michigan because that is what I have honestly done my entire life. I was in the Obama administration during the Great Recession period. I was working on the auto rescue, the initiative responsible for saving General Motors and Chrysler and 200,000 Michigan jobs. Every single day I walked into work, that was on the front fold in the newspaper. The smartphones hadn't proliferated yet, right? So it's like front page, front fold, and you get knots in your stomach. But look, we showed not only where our values are, but also how tapped into the voices of everyday Americans we are. And yeah, this was a blow. I'm not going to deny it. There's going to be a lot of cleanup from this legislation. Hakeem Jeffries intimated this. Frankly, there's going to be some political consequences. I'm putting up my hand as a lawmaker in this moment and as a candidate for next cycle, for 26 on behalf of the great state of Michigan. And it's not just to push back, but it's also to offer ideas because I really believe we can have fairness in this country. I have a vision for how we can govern our economy and create jobs and ensure that people can retire with dignity and have access to health care. This is an American promise. And look, the folks on the other side of the aisle, they just see it differently. But the other thing that's really clear, Gary, is that they are run by Donald Trump. They are run by Donald Trump. The ones who were being held out on the vote, they said, I don't know how they feel. They went over to the White House. What got them to vote the other way? Donald Trump gave them some freebies, literally signed paraphernalia of his, hats and shirts and probably that $250 bottle of cologne. I mean, give me a break.
What's that cologne smell like? You probably haven't, but what's it smell like in your head?
shoe leather? I don't know, and I'll tell you, I was texting the Michigan senators when they were on the floor, and they said, we've been here for 28 hours. I said, oh my gosh, I can only imagine how it smells. Now, our floor, and you asked about the vibe, because it's true that those videos never show it the way it really is. In fact, you can be speaking at a microphone and everyone can be shouting around you, but you can't hear them shouting, it's just picking you up on the mic. But I'll tell you what, it's crowded. it is packed there. And you bump into people who sometimes you don't want to bump into. But you have to remember, you're carrying that card for your state. You're carrying that card for your people. They are relying on you. We all took our journeys in a thunderstorm pretty much to get here. And every day I get to do that is a profound honor. And every single day I can roll up my sleeves. I'm eager to do it.
Congresswoman, can you hold through a quick break? You're listening to the Snyder Report with Gary Snyder. We'll be right back. All right, this is the part of the Snyder Report where we thank our sponsors, and we have a growing list. So let's start with Robin Winston. Robin has been there when we first sent out our first email, 147 subscribers. We're now over 108,000. So thank you, Robin Winston, and helping us get the podcast going in the right direction. Next up is our good friend, former Congresswoman Jill Long Thompson. Her book, Across the Aisle, Why Bipartisanship Works for America. Get that anywhere you buy your books. Also, former two-term governor, two-term U.S. Senator Evan Bayh. Evan has been a sponsor of the newsletter, now jumps on board with the podcast. Congressman Andre Carson. Congressman Carson has been there from the start. We're glad to have him over here on the newsletter now. He needs your help to win re-election next year. So make sure you support Congressman Carson. Next up, State Representative Cherish Pryor. Cherish has been there from the start on the newsletter, joining us on the podcast now. So is State Senator Greg Taylor. I want to thank Senator Taylor for all of his support through the years. Next, we have a couple of new sponsors. First up is Indiana Citizen. You want to check out their new project, One Heartbeat Away. Do Christian nationalists have an agenda for Indiana? You know, all you have to do is look at the lieutenant governorship and you can see right away that they do. So thank you, Indiana Citizen. Next up is Jump Laundry. You can visit them at jumplaundry.com. They have home pickup. They do your dry cleaning, wash and fold with, I might add, no judgments, and next day service. So if you're in a crunch for time, you don't want to do your own laundry, get a hold of Jump Laundry at jumplaundry.com or at 317-740-5011. And they will take care of all of your laundry needs. Welcome back to the Snyder Report. I am Gary Snyder. My guest today is Congresswoman Haley Stevens. She represents the 11th Congressional District in Michigan. Quick question, because you tweeted out at all of your colleagues from Michigan on the other side of the aisle. They had a huge opportunity to back up some of their populist, if you will, populist messages that they've put out. But instead, they took the opportunity to give tax cuts to billionaires, making them permanent, while any tax cuts for middle-class, hardworking middle-class families expire. They did it on the backs of children and Medicaid, seniors and Medicaid. You tweeted out at them. Now you represent maybe a little more urban district just north of Detroit. But a lot of those of your colleagues from Michigan that you tweeted out to represent some very rural areas, a lot of rural areas that are going to feel this maybe a little more than your district when hospitals disappear. What was your thinking of tweeting that out?
Well, look, it's disappointing to see people just rush to kiss the ring of Donald Trump's and not necessarily listen to really what their constituents need or what's going to be best for them. We've had a lot of healthcare disruptions this decade, be it COVID-19, the repeal of Roe, and now, frankly, this tax bill, the ACA subsidy removals that are going to come into effect right away. Guess what that's going to do? Rise costs. It's just going to cause
My daughter gets them. I mean, she can't be on ours, so she gets those subsidies for the ACA, and that's going to go away. How's she going to afford that now?
How's she going to afford it? And is she getting a raise from this bill? No. So it's just a blow. And I disagree with it, because when you squeeze our middle so much, you basically push people towards the bottom, and you take a few and they just get richer. And we've already got this major gap between the hyper rich and the average earners in this country. You got people working their tails off. And look, people aren't looking for government handouts, but they pay into this government that should work for them. And the fundamental disagreement that I have with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, the fundamental agreement that I have with who is ever going to be running against me next fall, is that they believe in a form of government that is, let's break it so it doesn't work, and then let's make the case that government doesn't work for people to continue to propel its shrinking. And I think we can strike a good middle ground. When I was working in the Obama administration, be it if it was on the auto rescue or an economic development policy, we kept looking at the role of, hey, if not but for, where the federal government can come in. About it. Who paved the first stretch of highway in the United States of America? By the way, that first stretch of highway comes from the great state that I call home. Who's plowing necessarily the fields or allocating the land? You're already seeing right now, people are saying our national parks are not as fun as they used to be because they fired everybody there. I mean, give me a break. And so, you got to look at a return on spend. That's what I call it, a return on spend. And particularly when it comes to people's health care, something's way off here. I mean, I talk about expanding Medicaid. Why? Because I've got a lot of upper middle class families in my district, and families who are closer to the poverty line who are using Medicaid for a variety of different reasons. Maybe they have a kid who's got rare medical complex challenges, and they'd be gosh darn bankrupt if they didn't have Medicaid. And mom and dad can actually work because they've got access to Medicaid, and their health insurance won't cover it. Those special wheelchairs. I mean, look, I'm going to show you something, Gary. I got some of these kids, and, they came into my office. Rozzy, James, Maddox, who's paying for this? Medicaid. And so where's that family going to go? And mom used to work, and she's like, you know what? I scaled back so I could really help with the kids. And now it's just another squeeze. It's another blow. And look, these aren't just talking points for me. I mean, this is my life's work. When I look at 42 new plants being rehabbed or revitalized or built in Michigan in the last 2 years, and now these, stripping away of the investments that were going in public-private partnerships, by the way. We put a little skin in the game. They put a little skin in the game. Now we've got revitalized manufacturing that's enabling us to be able to compete with the likes of China from the place that I call home, Michigan. That's all on hold at best, truly. I mean, we've got these erratic tariffs coming down, and I'm just sitting here, and look, I love my country, but I vehemently disagree with this policy direction. And this is what, frankly, led me to run for Congress way back when in the first place.
I know you're busy and you got to get going here in a minute. There's a lot of stuff in the bill that maybe doesn't get the publicity that it should. You mentioned the tax credits for green energy. We now have ICE as the largest police force in America. You're the coach. You're walking into the locker room. Your constituents are in there, ready to go to work, ready to fight. What do you tell them?
Well, this is what I tell them. I'm in the business of you. That you matter, and that your access to clean air and fresh drinking water and a good job matters. And that's squarely how we've got to design this thing. And look, we didn't win this battle. We did everything we could. We broke a lot of records. We stayed through the night. We tried to, let them think they were psyching us out. They weren't. They're holding votes open. We've actually got a Democratic leader who is sharing real stories in real time on behalf of almost almost every congressional district in this country. And what I believe folks on the other side want to see happen is for us to shrivel away, for us to cower away. And we can't do that. We've got to keep going forward. We got to not fight with each other. We've got to dig deep. We've got to recognize that we do have a democracy. We will have other elections, and that individuals like myself are going to continue to put forward smart legislation that will right the ship and, frankly, write the agenda for everyday people. So we got to be honest about what happened, which is that every single Democrat voted no in both chambers on this legislation. There were some Republicans who voted no as well. It was a very, very tight margin, but the consequences are large, and they're going to have to be owned by the political ideology that put them forward. And to everyone who is worried, just know that folks like myself are fighting for you. We do want to hear from you. Anybody who's listened to Snide Reports from Michigan, Haley Stevens has got her sleeves rolled up for you, and I will not stop moving forward.
And Republicans always cave, always.
Yes.
Where can people
Rocco,
find you, stalk you, all that good stuff?
you know what? I like to take nice long walks. You know what I mean? That's what I do. I get my walks on, and I try and clear my head that way, right? Sometimes you can find me lifting weights too. I did sneak away to the gym last night.
Well, thank you for your time. I am Gary Snyder. She is not. She is Congresswoman Haley Stevens. This is the Snide Report, and we are out.